Now I have to turn off timer.
Okay, I'm excited.
Okay, Walter. I'd like to call to order the special city council meeting for Riviera Beach on June 1st at 6:31 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Ronnie Felder.
Here.
Chairperson Julia Botel. Chairperson Julia Botel.
Oh, I said here. Can you not hear me?
Chair Pro Tem Douglas Lawson.
Here.
Councilperson Trodrick McCoy.
Here.
Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Present.
Councilperson Shirley Lanier. City Manager Jonathan Evans.
Present.
City Clerk Claudine Anthony is present. City Attorney Don Nguyen.
Here.
You may proceed.
Thank you. We'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Miller Anderson.
I pledge allegiance, I'm sorry, silence, we do need that.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any member of the public wishing to comment publicly on any matter, including items on the agenda, shall submit their comments by email to Clerk Claudine Anthony at publiccomments@rivierbeach.org. The email shall contain the applicable agenda item numbers along with the precise wording to be read into the record. Explicit language will not be read. Emails without applicable agenda item numbers will be read under the general public comment section. Be advised, public comments will be accepted for each applicable item and the general public comment section until closure is announced by the chairperson or the city clerk. All email addresses and submitted comments are and will be public record. The city clerk or designee shall read public comments into the record at the appropriate time for no more than 3 minutes. If you have any questions, please contact City Clerk's office at 561-845-4090 or email crobinson@rivierbeach.org. Do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk?
No, Madam Chair.
Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions? Do we have any disclosures by council? Then we can can someone move to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier.
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair, if you can allow for the mayor to start the meeting.
Thank you. Mayor Felder.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just thank you guys for coming on this with such a short notice. At the meeting this morning I had with Mr. Evans and Attorney Nguyen and Chief Curd and Chief Osgood, talking about the events that happened in the city of Riviera Beach. Some of the concerns that we have that may come to Riviera Beach, you know, I think it'd be a good idea if we wanted to take a proactive stance, knowing that even myself today getting texts that a group of people is coming or allegedly coming to the city of Riviera Beach to do some looting in Riviera Beach, Senior Island, and Lake Park. And so after speaking with the manager, just asking him maybe if he can put something together and we can come up with a curfew that goes along with West Palm Beach. I also think Lake Park is waiting to see what we do. And we've been getting pressed today that a group of people are coming to loot our city. So I'm just taking a proactive stance to see if we need to go to curfew, give our officers a better chance to handle the situation if that so be. So that's why I called this meeting. Mr. Evans?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Based on the information that staff has been able to obtain through multiple sources, through social media, as well as working with our partners in law enforcement, we think it is only prudent that we proceed forward with instituting a curfew for at least the 72-hour period. Chief Osgood participated in a conference call with his peers today, and it's already been communicated to me that Gardens has instituted a curfew. I have spoken to the city manager of Mangonia Park, who's requested the emergency order that we are looking for the board to consider this evening. Lake Park is moving forward with a curfew starting this evening, and West Palm moved forward with theirs on Sunday. The intent is to be able to address the potential for any activity in our community. We are consolidating our shifts. Usually we run 4 shifts. We're going to be running an Alpha and Bravo shift to be able to put additional resources on the ground. There are certain elements that we will refrain from discussing as part of the presentation, as it is intended to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public, but staff is prepared to answer any question and urges the city council to allow for the executive order for the mayor to sign to institute the curfew starting this evening at 9 p.m.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Yes, I'd like to ask the chief of police to weigh in on this issue.
Chief Osgood, if you can.
Yes, I'm coming on now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
But you can't. All right, so here we go. I think it's necessary to have a curfew, to enact the curfew, to protect the property and lives. Over the past few days, we've had nothing but civil unrest where as we understand the protests, as long as it's peaceful, lately they haven't all been peaceful. They've been going through and they've been direct to say what they want to do. We got information from Intel, and it's passed on to the Fusion Center, which is our Intel Center, to say that they're going to meet at certain stores to do a protest. Now, they want to do protests at closed businesses in the city. Now, we know that kind of protest is going to lead to nothing but criminal mischief, vandalism, and theft of property, looting, in other words. So I totally support the curfew, and we are already prepared with manpower to enforce the curfew. I've spoken to Chief DeMario, who's the number 2 at the sheriff's office, surrounding police chiefs in the area to let them know that this is the direction that we're heading in. We would like to get their support also, are you guys, because once we enact the curfew, we know they're going to start moving off to other cities. And from what I gathered, they're all looking to do this exact same thing, to put in a curfew to disperse. Now, arrest would be last options. We want to give everybody an opportunity to disperse and go home, to go about their business. We're going to use discretion. We're not just grabbing people off the street because they're walking. This is about the crowd gatherings, and they're gathering to do what? To wreak havoc on businesses, to damage property. This is what it's about.
Chief, I have a question. Will Palm Beach Shores, you've been in touch with the sheriff's office, will Palm Beach Shores also be starting a curfew?
That's my understanding, yes, ma'am. And first of all, where's my manners? I forgot to say good evening to the council member, the mayor, and then co-chair. Thank you, and Mr. Manager. I gotta tell you, not only Palm Beach Shores, Palm Beach Gardens, North Shores, I've been in touch with them, and they're all looking to do curfews.
I saw the one from Palm Beach Gardens. They're starting at 11 o'clock, I think. So
they were looking at 10, so it may go to 11.
Okay, the person who sent it to me said 10, but that doesn't matter. If this goes beyond the weekday into the weekend, will we be considering starting it not at 9, but perhaps a little bit later, just to enable the restaurants on the island to be able to work a little bit later? Or that, I guess we'll have to play it by ear.
We'll have to play it by ear, but certainly if we allow for the restaurants to stay open later on in the evening, it is going to be a situation where they're going to convene at the restaurant, and then after that, it's going to continue to put a drain on resources to be able to manage that. So our recommendation is to be in lockstep with the other municipalities directly adjacent to us.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask one other follow-up question. I wanted to know that even though we are considering enacting a curfew, is the city manager or city administration considering any type of assistance to people who want to protest peacefully, to assist people with those types of needs to be able to protest peacefully?
With regards to any peaceful protest, we have had small pockets of folks coming out to protest, but if individuals reached out to us, we would facilitate and provide a location that we would recommend for them to be at with regards to that, and even assist to facilitate safe demonstrations in our community. That's not something that we want to deter folks from, because that is their right. And so we would help facilitate that as much as possible.
Thank you.
I think that another follow-up to that, I just think that maybe the city needs to put something out like that, saying that if you want to peacefully protest, if you want to be able to, voice your opinion, voice your frustrations, voice your anger, voice whatever it is, that the city will assist you in doing these type of peaceful protests in our city.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy, I don't know if they're going to answer Ms. Lanier, so I'll just move on to Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to speak to, I guess, the author of the proposed declaration that we have in front of us. That would be who exactly?
That will be legal, Ms.
Yes,
Okay.
that would be me.
So a couple things. So first off, our largest tax base our largest tax base comes from businesses in the industrial area. There's no provision for those, particularly in and around the Gardens Road industrial area, that actually have 24-hour operations. And I'm particularly concerned, there is a provision that gives a carve out for emergency personnel and that sort of thing. And there needs to be some clear descriptive definition of what the public means, because if someone's standing in the yard, I would hope that that's not considered being in the public. If they're standing on the sidewalk in front of their home, that shouldn't be considered as public. But I would hope that there's some clarity to this order, I guess to this declaration, because it's not clear. That's the first question.
Mr. McCoy, this is standard emergency declaration. The curfew provisions follow that to the word of Florida statutes. Regarding the local businesses, if people are traveling to and from work, they're exempt from the curfew. If they are traveling to and from work and they're stopped by law enforcement, they will be asked to show identification. But if they're traveling to and from work, they're exempt from this order.
And what happens if they can't establish identification?
If they're driving, they should have identification anyway.
Well, Ms. Nguyen, I'm speaking in general. Is this a criminal offense? Is it a civil offense?
A violation of the curfew is a misdemeanor.
Okay, and what exactly would that violation be?
It's usually it's a fine of up to $500 and up to 6 months in jail.
So, I mean, is the charge violation of curfew? I mean, I was looking for a little bit more specific.
Yes, it's in Florida statutes, and it is a violation of the curfew, and it's a misdemeanor of the first degree.
So this calls for the mayor to execute this. Why is this the case? Because the charter provides the mayor to take control of the police department.
With the consent of the city council, excuse me.
Okay, so is that the authority we're giving the mayor right now by agreeing to this?
Yes.
Okay, so
no, all the mayor is asking for is the ability. The mayor has several powers. One of them is the ability to call for curfew. That's what he's asking for. He's not asking to take control of the police, of the law enforcement.
So can
he's
you
not
provide
asking to exercise his military powers.
Okay, so what section of the charter is that, Ms. Nguyen? Because
Section 15.
Okay. Next question, and while I'm pulling section 15, particularly the resolution we authorized in March allows the manager the powers, including but not limited to call a curfew. Why isn't this something that is already vested with the manager? Because, well, that's my first question. Why can't the manager call it? Because I have a specific concern regarding us voting on something like this.
Because that resolution, that emergency declaration was specific to COVID-19.
Okay.
This is totally separate.
But that's not, well, let me read exactly what the resolution says because I have it here. The city manager or designee is hereby empowered, authorized, or directed to exercise such emergency powers necessary to carry out the provisions of Chapter 252 Florida statutes to provide for the health, safety of persons and property, including but not limited to establishing a curfew order to restrict travel and movement within the city. So is that not something that can be encompassed under the current local state of emergency?
The state of emergency that I'm proposing is under Florida Statute 870.042 and 870.0.43, which deals with, the title of it is Appraise Riots, Routes, and Unlawful Assemblies.
Okay. But does that have to be then validated or confirmed by city council?
If you have, again, you have to read all of this together. The only reason that we have to bring this to you all is because the charter says under the provisions for the mayor that he may, in a time of public danger or emergency with the consent of city council, take command of the police and maintain order and enforce the laws. However, I specifically left out the language in this draft regarding command of the police.
So, okay. And if we take that section by section, in a time of public danger, which I believe the manager, the chief, and also the mayor has already represented that this will probably be one of those times of danger or emergency. With the consent of council, what exactly is he doing from this point on? Because you said he's not taking command of the police. Is he maintaining order? Is that the role of the mayor in this port?
By signing the curfew order, yes.
Okay, and then that is now being delegated to the manager for execution?
The chief of police will execute on the curfew, not the manager.
Okay, so
only the mayor has the authority, the mayor with the consent of the council, to order a curfew.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone else? Do we need to make a motion, Mr. Evans? Just a motion to
I have a question, but I forgot what it was.
Anderson.
I forgot what it was. I'll hopefully remember maybe if I might know on that.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the curfew. And before I make this motion, I want to be clear about did it say it in the resolution that it was 72 hours?
Yes.
Okay, to make a motion for 72 hours. It expires in 72 hours for the city of Riviera Beach for a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. for this city.
Can we get a second?
Second, and I remember what I need to say.
Is it all right if we vote on, or do you want to say something first?
No, we just voted, so I'll say it now. I don't know if the manager, huh?
Yeah,
We haven't carried the vote yet. Just a motion and a second on the floor, just to be clear.
So I can comment, right?
You can. She hasn't called the roll though.
Right, okay. For the chief, or Mr. Evans, if the sheriff department has to come in and assist us, are they on the same page in terms of what type of enforcement what is our game plan?
Chief, if you can talk to your coordination with other law enforcement agencies as we started discussing this matter this morning.
Yes, we spoke to the other law enforcement agency, and we have to enforce the curfew. first and foremost, I ask for them to make sure the jails can cover people that we bring in. In other words, we have to bring in people, they're ready for them. Talking to our surrounding agency, if we need support from our surrounding municipalities, they're going to give us support. They're going to come over, and we also offered them support, and we supported the city of West Palm last night. So if we need to get support from any agency, the sheriff's office included, if we call them, they're going to come out, and the same that goes to us, say there.
Right, I understand that part. I guess in terms of to what level of enforcement, I mean, I know we need to enforce a curfew, that without a question. But I'm saying in terms of how stringent, like, are there warnings? Like Mr. McCoy was just saying, if you're in your yard, for example, you know, Riviera is going to say, hey, you know, we don't.
No, we already discussed rules of engagement, and basically, if a person in a yard, even walking down the street, the block, we're not enforcing that. We're looking mainly at those crowds that have congregated and they're walking towards businesses, closed businesses at that. People who are hanging out in their front yard, we'll do what we always do, wave at them and keep on going.
Right, and I just wanted to make sure that even that agency is aware of that's what we're doing. You know, other agencies may have different.
No, we also, I spoke to several chiefs today, and we all know that the curfew is a last resort, keeping civil unrest, to keeping the peace. So what we want to do, and I have to say, an arrest is a last resort as well. We're going to do everything possible to give several warnings to get people to break up and move on.
Right.
And I think the warnings will help to get the crowd to disperse or to go ahead and move on.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. You know, that might be what Riviera is planning to do. I just want to make sure the coordination of the others agencies that will come in have that same thought process when moving forward with anything.
As it pertains to the city of Riviera Beach, if we get support from outside agency, we are the lead.
Okay.
We have captains on duty. I'm here, and a major on duty. We are the lead, no matter who we get to come in and support us, whether it's the sheriff or any surrounding agency. They're going to follow our lead. They're going to follow our directions. And on the rest, give that individual a chance to move on. Or even if we had to put handcuffs on a person, we can always take the handcuffs off. That person may apologize and say, hey, I get it, I'm going to go home. You can take the handcuffs off that person and go on. We are the lead in our city. Now, to what they may do in the city, if we happen to participate in their city, they are the lead.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Follow up.
Mr. McCoy.
Ms. Wynn, or Chief, I should say, does a person traveling after 9 o'clock in their vehicle or even walking down a sidewalk, is that in itself presents a presumption of probable cause to detain a person?
No, sir, it does not.
So just merely driving your vehicle after 9 o'clock, this doesn't authorize the police to initiate a traffic stop?
We're not going to be stopping for a person going to and from location if they're driving their cars. It would have to be something direct, sir. The curfew ordinance is pretty broad. If you asking whether or not legally can you make that stop, yes, legally you can. But that's not something we're going to do. That's not in our rules of engagement. The rules of engagement with a crowd congregating, going towards a certain business.
I understand that, but it does, I guess, so you said both. So it can present a presumption of probable cause for an officer to stop somebody that's driving at 9:45 in the evening.
It could, yes.
So, you know, I think more importantly, and I just really want to err on the side of somebody that might be doing something and they're not aware of it. Like there has to be a all-out blitz on public, on making this public, because I don't want people to have don't have knowledge, because clearly we met in 2 hours, and then now they're subject to a probable cause stop, and this may just create more and blossom to a much greater problem because we haven't even disseminated this word or anything. So, I would, while I understand we're at June 1st, it's going to be really tough to me to agree that we're going to enact something in exactly 2 hours and 2 minutes that everybody needs to be off of the road. If not, you're giving the police a presumption of probable cause to be detained. That's a problem.
Traffic stops is not part of
Madam-
I think
I want to, Chair.
Mr. Evans just wants to now come to you. Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair, our intent is to address what we are seeing, and based on the intelligence and the information that was provided to us, our intent is not to obstruct and to impede people traveling from point A to point B. It's to address the issues that we're seeing throughout the country as a result of the activity that occurred in Minnesota. So we're going to exercise discretion. We have competent and capable law enforcement professionals, and we're going to get the information out to the community as quickly as we possibly can, as other communities around us are doing the exact same. The only reason that we're here before you this evening is because based on the intelligence and the information we have provided. And again, I want to caution us about saying what we will and won't do, because we will compromise the integrity of the process if we're communicating exactly how we're going to handle the situation. I have confidence in Chief Osgood and his team about how they'll handle this and make sure that everyone that does assist in the event that that has to occur will make sure that this agency is represented well, and that we make sure that we facilitate and peaceful activities in our community. So again, we are going to put out as much information as we possibly can immediately concluding this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Ms. Lanier.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of Councilwoman Anderson and Councilman McCoy. The issue here, not so much an issue, but the fear of police having carte blanche to be able to harass people, to be able to stop people for no reason, to be able to, do whatever they want without accountability. That is our fear here. So I just want to be clear that we have, and I know that in Chief Osgood, we have someone who's at the helm to be able to make sure that this does not happen. But in terms of this curfew, we understand that when people enact curfews, it's something serious going on here. So I want to be clear about the fact that this city, being a predominantly African-American city, that we are setting the standard in terms of how we deal with people that it's 12 o'clock at night. They're coming from work. They may be tired. You never know what may pop off. You never know what may happen. But we want to be clear about the fact that we do have some trepidation about this. This is a curfew. And that means that at 9:30, if I wanted to go to Walmart, I cannot, because I'm not going to work. So I can take that. I mean, I've taken self-isolation for the last 2 months. I can do that. But I just want to be clear about the people. And I agree with Mr. McCoy on the fact that the public needs to know this, that they need to know that at 9 o'clock that, people are going to either they may pull you over, they may ask you questions, whatever the case may be. But being a Black woman, when the police comes behind me, I am nervous and I have not done anything. So I just want to be able to have the atmosphere where, even though there's law enforcement present, that we have the acknowledgement that people are fearful, they're on edge, they're angry, and that we have to be careful of how we deal with people during this situation. So, but I do, and I want to say, and I said from the beginning, I do have all the utmost confidence in our chief of police to be able to do that.
Thank you. Anything else?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I want to offer amendment. We at least allow this to go in effect June 2nd at 9 o'clock as opposed to 2 hours from now.
I would like Mr. Evans to respond to that. I think there might be some.
He made a motion, and I'm going to second that motion.
Do we have any other discussion about that? Waiting until tomorrow?
Yes,
Well-
that means that there's an opportunity for city administration, for the police chief, for everybody involved in the city to let the residents of this city, the law-abiding citizens, the people who live here, who go to the store, who go to Walmart, who go to Walgreens, the opportunity to know what's happening starting tomorrow night at 9 o'clock.
My only
Madam
concern,
Chair,
well, let's hear from Miller Anderson and then the mayor, and then I have to weigh in. Ms. Miller Anderson.
you know, I think there are some intelligence information that they are probably aware of that we are not aware of. And I too am concerned about not being able to provide a whole lot of notification, but I would assume as professionals, they understand that we only have the 2 hours to make that decision, and that would play into their decision making. And I think from Mr. Evans and Chief Osgood speaking tonight, I do believe they understand our concerns with that. But some things, when there are emergency situations, we don't have time to sit here and plan for it sometimes. I mean, I didn't plan for a meeting tonight, but that's what we had to do in order to get this in place. And we have to understand too that I know we're concerned about Riviera, but it's not just about Riviera too. It's kind of all of these cities that kind of lock in together. One thing can roll over. If there's a curfew in place in the city to the south of us and one to the north of us, that would allow that break for them to come where there's an opening, which is here. That's my only concern, is that based on intelligence that they may have received, the need obviously is great to go ahead and get ahead of this. I don't want us to be some of the cities that have come in on the back end, because it's hard trying to contain something on the back end. It provides us with an opportunity to have an upper hand in terms of being ahead of it right now. And I think that if we do not do this tonight, then we're going to have to play catch up tomorrow. Hopefully we put it in play and we don't have any issues with it at all, and tomorrow could be the time. But I would hope that tonight be used as a time to educate people, obviously, unless they're doing something extremely gross or just to a point where I'm so tired, I can't even put words together right now. But you understand my point. Hopefully some professionalism will rise in this, and I think it needs to happen tonight.
Thank you. I agree. Mayor Felder and then Mr. McCoy.
Yeah, I think Councilwoman Anderson hit it right on the head. And let's remember this. I think we're out of the realm of a peaceful protest, because what happens is it attracts those that's coming to destroy your cities. If you look at this thing, it's starting from Dade County, Fort Lauderdale, Boynton, Lake Worth, West Palm Beach. They're coming down the way. And if we can be proactive, because listen, West Palm Beach didn't think it would be a looting last night. Although they had the officers out, it happened, and they had to call Keith James at 9 o'clock at night or whatever to get the sign to have the curfew. By that time, they were a little too late. What we're doing is we're taking a proactive stance with the intelligence that was given to that we're being threatened that they're going to come in and loot these areas. So why wait till it happens and then try to put it together? I don't think, if I listen to Chief Osgood and the team, I mean, if you need to go to Walmart and you're driving your car, I don't think they're going to stop you. Specifically said, it's for groups that they see that these looters or the people that don't want to do a peaceful protest that come into your city to do damage, and they're in crowds. That's who they're seeking out, to make sure that our residents and our businesses stay safe. So I don't think he said it himself. If you're walking down the street, they're not going to stop you. And so use discretion when we're doing this. But let's not be caught with our tail down, our pants down, and this thing hit us tonight and we're not prepared. Be proactive about it. That's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. McCoy, and then Ms. Lanier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Councilwoman Lanier and Mayor Felder, I actually did come across some information that I shared with the appropriate personnel at the city, but if there's truly actionable intelligence that would suggest, as you have the verbiage in this declaration, a clear and present danger, then I think as a body, why shouldn't we be aware of that and convening a meeting under 281 that's exempt from public so that we're not making a decision basically shooting from our hip. That way, at least everybody on this board, mayor included, we're all aware of exactly what the imminent threat and danger is. And, I won't have so much reservations, but I simply, and I can tell you, and I shared this with Councilwoman Miller Anderson, I simply shared a post about, I specifically pray for our police department. And oh my gosh, did I get beat up so bad on social media about it, because I went to just see our police officers one morning and there were shots fired at 5:45 in the morning. So at the very least, I would expect that if it's that imminent and there's that much of a danger to the community, then, that's exactly why these exemptions are provided for under the law, so that when we make these decisions, it's not based on us not having enough information. And I certainly support being a citizen, a de facto employee, and a business owner in the community. I certainly respect the need to have a curfew, but I don't want to do it out of us not making sure that everybody has the same information and that we all are aware of what the potential threat is and why there is such a sense of urgency to move forward with this. That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
And I'm going to say this, and we're gonna wrap this up. But I just really want to say, to piggyback off of that, saying that I'm for one, I'm all for it. Don't get that misunderstood. But what I want to be for is I want to be able to make sure that every person who lives in this city is aware of this. It is 7:08 at night. If this goes into effect in an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes, 90% of the city won't know about this. And I just want to be clear on the fact that if we're going to do this, I need a public announcement to let the public know that 9 o'clock tomorrow night, if you're not going to work, then you might be stopped. You might be asked questions, but to enact something at in an hour and a half from now, and nobody knows. I'm sitting here talking, in my office, and my father goes to all this all the time. He might not know. So I just want to be able to be clear about the fact that people in the public understand that this goes down 9 o'clock tomorrow night, and also that it's not about property, people. It is about lives we're trying to save. Because we understand that we don't want businesses. I'm not finished. We don't want businesses destroyed. We don't want people to be able to be in a position who have business to be able to say that I've lost my business. I understand that. But I do not want additional loss of life because somebody didn't know, or whatever the case may be. I just want people, and it's not just the citizens of Riviera Beach, anybody who comes in as antagonizers or instigators, to know that tomorrow night you cannot come in this city doing anything that you think you want to do. But to give 2 hours notice to the people who pay our salaries, the people who live and pay taxes in the city, is doing a disservice to them. They don't even know, and they won't know. They're not watching this meeting. They don't know that in 2 hours you can't go anywhere unless you're going to work. They won't know this. So it's just in a matter of just public information to let people know. That's it to me.
I have every faith that our administration, and including our chief of police, would not even think about anybody on their going to home, going to Walmart. I think what they're after is that they have actual intelligence that tonight there may be groups of people doing damage in our city, and that's why they want us to approve this for tonight, not wait until tomorrow. As someone else had said, perhaps it was Miller Anderson, surrounding cities are making this move tonight, which means that if we're the only one, we will be that vacuum into which everything else will be sucked. And we don't want that to happen. So my opinion is that we really need to do this now, tonight, and be only with the assurance from Chief Osgood and City Manager Evans that it's not going to affect law-abiding citizens in the city of Riviera Beach. Its intent is to stop crowds of people from doing damage to closed businesses. based on some information that they have. I don't need to know that information, frankly. I trust that they're smart enough to know that this is something that we should worry about. That's my opinion. Ms. Miller Anderson.
I just had a question for Mr. Evans. Is there a way do we have like an emergency broadcast where we're able to push it out to the phone numbers or text or something?
Yes, councilperson, and that's actually what we were going to do. We have a systems called, I think, reverse 911, where we can call the community, and we will put the order out on our social media channels as well as the website, a crawl on the TV, everything that we can do to inform the community as quickly as we can. We certainly will do that.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me.
Now, the motion as it stands is that we enact this curfew tomorrow night. So unless I hear anything from Mr. McCoy or Ms. Lanier to put that back to the original motion, which was tonight, we should vote on the motion as it stands. Am I correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair, you would vote on the amendment first, and if that fails, we would go to the original motion.
So unless anyone else has something to say, Mr. Uncharacteristic.
The gentleman from the 5th district, he looked like he wants to say something.
I don't know, he looks like he wants to say something, which is very unusual. So, Mr. Lawson, did you want to weigh in?
No, Madam Chair. I was actually debriefed earlier with these same questions and concerns during the day. So I've been updated on what's going on, and I'm prepared to vote moving forward.
So, Madam Clerk, would you, and this vote is to postpone the curfew until tomorrow night. Madam Clerk?
No, it's not to postpone the curfew, Madam Chair. It's to enact the curfew effective June 2nd.
To enact the curfew tomorrow night, and not tonight.
Is the gentlewoman from the 3rd district on?
Shirley, you here? Oh, yeah, she moved. She's on twice. She's here twice. Hear you, Shirley. We can't hear you. Shirley,
so while we're trying to wait for her connection, Mr. Evans and Ms. Nguyen, is this not a specific issue that will be encompassed under 281 of Florida statutes, that there is some intelligence that we would have the ability to convene a unpublic meeting for?
Mr. McCoy, Florida Statute 281 deals with safety and security services. For instance, alarm services, those types of things.
Well, there are specific criminal intelligence meetings that take place that are not public.
Yes, amongst law enforcement, correct.
Okay, so that there's no exemption for us to talk about specific threats to enact a state of emergency?
Okay, so you kind of confused two issues there for me. One is for criminal intelligence, no. That's amongst law enforcement.
Oh, but the mayor in this case is law enforcement because he takes control of the police department.
I think that what the manager, if anything, would have done or could do is brief you individually, but it depends on what it is, because if it's criminal intelligence that Chief Osgood or law enforcement would not want to be out there, then we wouldn't tell you that. There's no obligation. I mean, there are certain things that you can't know.
Okay, Ms. Lanier is, Shirley, say something so we can, we're not hearing you, Shirley, we're not hearing you. No. I'm not a good lip reader any longer. We all need to learn sign language. Can you dial in, Shirley? Could you try calling?
Is this every week?
I don't know. Wednesday we're back on solid ground again. We're no longer virtual. So
can she go out and come back in, please?
No, but try to go out and come or call on the phone. We just really at this point need to vote and wrap this up.
Is Shirley pulling a Trodrick?
Don't say that, Sheldon. We see that you're trying, Shirley.
Okay, can you hear me now?
All right, we're
Yes.
ready for the vote. Call the vote. Call the
Lord,
question.
Yeah,
Call
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Quick.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
No.
Councilperson Lanier,
yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
No.
Chair Botel.
No. Now, can we please have a motion to put the curfew into effect this evening? Sorry.
Madam Chair, we already have a motion on the floor to enact the curfew as presented.
Can we call that roll, please?
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Okay, table, we don't have, we need to do we need to have a discussion by city manager?
No, Madam Chair.
A discussion by city attorney?
No, thank you.
City council committees? Not any comments by the mayor?
No, Madam Chair.
Comments by Chair Pro Tem Lawson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to let all of our residents know that we're doing our very best to continue to protect you and speak on behalf of your needs. Every one of my colleagues is just speaking on behalf of what our residents are asking them to do. This is nothing personal. This is just the discussions that we have based upon what our community needs. So I want us to continue to be safe. I'm praying for all families. I'm praying for justice, and we're also praying for the direction of where our system is going to change and to be implemented in the proper way. So that's what all of us are standing for, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So I support all of my colleagues here, whether we agree or disagree on everything. So thank you, Mr. Evans and Mr. Osgood, for the intel, and let's continue to move forward and progress forward.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Evans and Chief Osgood, thank you for giving us regular and routine updates on the, I guess, current state of the city as it relates to any kind of potential criminal activity. But I would hope and expect that that will probably become a little more frequent now that we've kind of set forth this curfew going forward, so that we're aware. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lanier.
I just wanted to say that I appreciate the fact that we have a police chief and a city manager who is taking care of this city, and the fact that I have all the utmost confidence in both of their abilities to be able to steer us through this storm and to be able to get us on the other side, and to make sure that the citizens of this city feel comfortable with the police, unlike so many other cities. We are a unique place here, where we are very comfortable with our police, that we are very comfortable in the abilities of the people to make the decisions for us. So I just wanted to make sure that the police chief and the city manager understands that we appreciate their efforts.
Thank you. Ms. Miller Anderson.
I just wanted to say, kind of echo what Councilman Lawson stated in terms of, we're all working together here. I echo exactly what my colleagues have said in terms of Mr. Evans and Chief Osgood. I have complete respect for you too, and confidence in knowing that you will make sure that we get through this. And I just want to say to our community, we're a tight-knit community, and I think that if we just continue to work together, we'll be able to get through this. We're not going to allow those from outside to come in and damage what we have as a community. So I think that's why it's necessary for us to take these steps. But I want to be very clear with everyone that I do expect for, there to be some respect involved in all of this. And I think that everybody is pretty much on the same page and understand that. And that's what the end goal is, just to basically keep everyone safe and people's property in order. But more importantly, it's about life safety at this point. And so we just want to make sure that everybody is fine once we get through this. It's very difficult and tough, you know, having children or young men, and especially for you all, my colleagues on the board. It's a difficult time for everybody, I'm sure, but I do believe that we can get through this. And there will, as Mr. Lawson stated, hopefully there's some systematic changes that are made down the line, a little closer now than further down the line. And I apologize, guys. I can barely put 2 words together. A lot going on. So thank you all for dealing with me tonight.
It sounded good to me. I also want to thank Chief Osgood and Mr. Evans and Ms. Nguyen for putting together this thing, and for the mayor for bringing it out to us this evening to vote on. You know, as someone who has experienced a privileged life to some degree, I've never had to tell my children to be careful going out in the streets. I've never had to worry about the kinds of things that many of my colleagues have to worry about on a day-to-day basis. And it's heartbreaking to see what's happening to our country. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, although he became more politically active toward the end of his life, just before he died, he said something about riots that comes to my mind now. He said, when you riot, it gives people like George Wallace more ammunition. So as much as there is pain, and justified pain for the murder of a good, innocent man, we hope that justice will be done. We hope that they will be brought to trial, and I won't comment on, we hope that justice will be served. But we also hope that people will take into consideration that the damage they do when they riot and cause harm to our community is not the proper kind of behavior. I think the president, not the current president, the last president said it so well today when he said, let us not model that kind of behavior. Let's model better behavior. We're better than that. So again, I want to thank you all for this vote, and God bless everyone. Have a great night. Thank you. Let's see. You can't just sign off like that. Anything else? Did I forget? We have no other statements. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.